The Lakers are still the deepest team in the NBA. I thought they were deep last year. You saw how almost everyone got to play at different times during the championship run, and not just in garbage time. And now, they've improved their roster and improved their bench. Let's go over their starting lineup. In their first game, they started Dennis Schroeder, KCP, LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Marc Gasol. Then Vogel went to the bench, and it was Caruso, Wesley Matthews, Kyle Kuzma, Markieff Morris, Montrezl Harrell, and THT. That's 11 men deep. The only players that didn't play were Jared Dudley, Kostas Antetokounmpo, Devontae Cacok, and Alfonso McKinney. Aside from THT, all the other players that played the first game have shown that they can contribute and be relied on to play meaningful minutes. Gasol and Matthews haven't been great so far, but just last season they were solid for their previous teams. And even THT was turning heads during the preseason. And you may say it's just preseason, but he also got minutes in last year's playoffs, and he was pretty solid. Not to mention that his coach and his teammates were raving about his play. Typically, an NBA rotation is about 8 to 10 players in the regular season, and it gets smaller during the playoffs. Now, there are other teams that can go 11 deep. Hell, they can even go 13 deep if they want. But they definitely shouldn't. Those last few players in the roster are definitely just for backup, and they're not actually deserving of minutes. Playing them is a last resort. When it comes to the Lakers, all 11 players that I mentioned are deserving of minutes and can contribute positively on the court. Under normal circumstances, having too many good players would be a problem. It's a good problem to have, but a problem nonetheless. However, this season is far from normal. We already saw how teams like the Rockets couldn't even play because too many players didn't meet the safety protocols. In a year with a pandemic still ongoing, there's no telling when players will be available to play or not. That's why it really is next man up. And it's important to have as many playable players as possible. And at this point, I think the Lakers have the most playable players. But depth is especially important for the Lakers. They, along with the Heat, had the shortest offseason in NBA history. They didn't get a lot of time to rest and recover. But unlike the Heat, their best player is 36 years old and has logged in over 10,000 playoff minutes, equivalent to about 3 full extra seasons of basketball. And with the shortened season, that means there's going to be a lot more back-to-backs and more games in a smaller amount of time. But luckily, the NBA has relaxed its load management policy and will allow teams to rest their veterans on non-national TV games. So the Lakers will most likely rest their stars a lot more. And even for minor tweaks and injuries, they're probably going to take the more cautious approach, which means the Lakers will have to be able to win some games without their stars. Luckily, they have the personnel to keep them afloat. So while this season is less than ideal, it needed to happen this way for financial reasons. And the whole NBA will have to struggle with this unusual season. But luckily, the Lakers are well equipped to get through the season with their superior depth.